Hello students, welcome to the second episode of our revision with MCQs Science and Tech. So we discussed 10 questions and then based on that you can revise your Science and Tech syllabus effectively. So let's start with the first question for the day. Sodium-ion battery technology recently seen in the news is being promoted as an alternative to lithium-ion batteries mainly because 1. It relies on more abundant raw materials, offers safer handling characteristics and reduces vulnerability to concentrated global supply chains. B. Delivers higher energy density and longer life cycle than commercially deployed lithium-ion batteries. C. Eliminates dependence on imported battery components by using entirely indigenous materials and processes. Or D. It is already commercially mature and widely deployed in electric vehicles in grid-scale storage systems. So please attempt this question and then we'll discuss the explanation. So here we are talking about the sodium-ion battery technology to be used as an alternative to the lithium-ion batteries. Now lithium-ion batteries mainly they involve all these critical minerals that we have, for example lithium, nickel, cobalt, copper. So we use very expensive minerals, we use very critical minerals. And we know that when it comes to the processing and refining of these critical minerals, there is a monopoly that is held by China. So particularly lithium-ion batteries, if we say, so lithium-ion batteries have multiple uses in different sectors, like most importantly they are used in our electric vehicles, then in semiconductors and all other industries. So they use lithium, cobalt, copper, nickel, etc. Okay, and when we particularly talk about lithium, so for lithium, there is a term that you might have heard of, that's the lithium triangle. So lithium triangle is actually, it is a set of 3 countries, A, B, C, Argentina, Bolivia and Chile, all the 3 countries in South America. These 3 countries hold a lot of reserves of lithium. So when it comes to holding lithium reserves, we have the lithium triangle, that is ABC, Argentina, Bolivia and Chile. But when we talk of refining and processing, because you cannot just use raw lithium as is for the industries, we have to process it. So that is where the role of China comes in, where it holds the monopoly in refining and processing of these critical minerals. So that's why such things become very expensive, because India always has to rely on import. So things become expensive, and then we are also using other metals like we have copper, nickel, etc. All these are expensive metals, they're not cheap. So we need to look for alternatives that are widely available, that are cheaper, and that's when sodium comes into picture. So sodium we know is widely available, we can even make it from seawater. And then instead of using copper in these sodium-ion batteries, we rely more on aluminium, which is cheaper, more easily available, cheaper. So that's why this is being seen as an alternative to the lithium-ion batteries, but it is still in a very nascent stage. We do not have it widely deployed anywhere, but it is still being considered as an alternative. So let's look at the explanation over here. The correct answer would be option A. Sodium-ion batteries rely on more abundant raw materials, offers safer handling characteristics, and reduces vulnerability to concentrated global supply chains. So that is what we discussed, that lithium-ion batteries, they depend on scarce and expensive elements, and the supply chain is heavily concentrated in few countries, particularly China. So sodium-ion batteries are being explored as an alternative because sodium is what? Far more abundant, easily available. We can extract it from seawater at relatively lower cost, and it also uses aluminium instead of copper. But we need to note that recent Indian research and industry collaborations have demonstrated faster charging, improved durability, but the sodium-ion technology is still at a nascent stage and has lower energy density and limited commercial deployment at the moment. So the PDF for this will be provided in our Telegram channel. You can go ahead, join the channel, Drishti IAS English YouTube channel. Link to that will be provided in the comment section. It will be pinned there and you can get this PDF. Alright, moving on to the second question. Consider the following statements about the Akash air defense system. 1. It is designed for the protection of fixed installations but cannot be deployed to safeguard mobile or semi-mobile military assets. 2. It can be deployed at heights up to 4,500 meters and can take down targets at a distance of around 25 to 30 kilometers. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? A. 1 only, B. 2 only, C. both 1 and 2, or D. neither 1 nor 2. Please attempt this question. Alright, so here we are talking about the Akash air defense system. So this Akash air defense system, it is actually a medium range surface to air missile. Surface to air missile. And recently India was in talks with Brazil, where we wanted to export this Akash missile system to them. But right now nothing has been finalized so far. We have been in these talks stage. So that's why it was in news. So when we talk of the characteristics, so yes, it can be deployed at heights up to 4,500 meters. It is indigenously developed by DRDO. And then it can take down targets at a distance of around 25 to 30 kilometers. So this statement is correct. Coming to the first statement, it is designed for the protection of fixed installations but cannot be deployed to safeguard mobile or semi-mobile military assets. No, it can be deployed to safeguard mobile and semi-mobile military assets. So it can protect fixed targets also, it can protect mobile targets, it can protect semi-mobile targets. So this is not true. 1 is incorrect and 2 is correct. So the correct answer will be option B. If we look at the explanation, so it is a medium range surface to air missile designed to provide area air defense against a wide range of aerial threats. So it is capable of protecting mobile, semi-mobile and static military formations, critical assets, and it is equipped with cross-country mobility, meaning it can also do off-roading. So cross-country mobility enabling deployment across diverse terrains. It does not always require smooth roads to transfer. It can do off-roading also and difficult terrains. So the system incorporates real-time multi-assessing and threat evaluation, allowing it to simultaneously engage multiple targets. Okay, it can target multiple targets from any direction. It is flexible, it is scalable, capable of operating in both grouped and autonomous modes. It uses command guidance with missiles guided to their targets through a phased array radar until interception. So these are some basic features, but what you need to remember is, first of all, it is medium range surface to air missile. It is capable of protecting mobile, semi-mobile and static military formations, and then it can target multiple things at the same time. And then some key features over here, where the altitudes up to 4,500 meters can be targeted. Effective engagement of approximately 25 to 30 kilometers. This is the range. Missile average up to 18 kilometers altitude, high degree of automation. So automation is being used and multifunction radar is also being used. So these are some key features. Now let's move to the next question. Enshittification is a term that's recently seen in news, primarily referring to A. Gradual deterioration of platform quality driven by profit-oriented business practices. B. Sudden failure of digital platforms caused by technical or systematic disruptions. C. Intentional shutdown of online services following regulatory or judicial actions. D. Systematic automation-led replacement of human roles within digital platforms. So please attempt this question. Alright, so enshittification, it is actually a slang. Okay, it's an internet slang that is being used for digital platforms that are now starting to deteriorate. So there's a gradual deterioration of platform quality driven by profit-oriented business practices. Meaning, think of digital platforms like websites, applications like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or even let's say normal YouTube. So earlier what used to happen when these were launched for the first time, everything was great. Like they had great features, lesser ads, relevant content and everything of that sort. But gradually with the profit mindset that the businesses have, they started putting in too many ads, irrelevant content, and every time, hidden content that you always have to purchase something something in order to view the complete content. You cannot view the complete content until you have a subscription or things of that sort, basically, where a lot of this business mind, when it comes into play, the quality deteriorates, and then gradually users start losing their interest in that digital platform. So it starts with a great platform, but then over a period of time it just starts turning into something that users do not like. So it's a gradual deterioration in the quality of service that is being provided by these platforms because of the business mindset or the profit mindset only that they operate on. Okay, so let's look at the explanation. It refers to the gradual decline in the quality of a service or product, particularly digital platforms, caused by profit-driven reductions in user experience. So it usually goes through 3 stages. 1, initially the platforms prioritize user satisfaction. This is where everything goes great. Then subsequently they exploit users to benefit business clients, keep on showing ads and ask for purchases and subscriptions. And finally they extract maximum value from those business clients themselves. So it's when the quality has entirely deteriorated. We are not getting quality content. We are being recommended random stuff which is not in line with what we usually watch, and then we also have to pay for everything. Every 30 seconds, every 10 seconds there is an ad or things of that sort. So that is what enshittification. Moving on to the next question. Consider the following statements about wormholes. 1. They are theoretical structures predicted by solutions of Einstein's general theory of relativity that could connect 2 distant points in space-time. 2. They have been observed in astronomical data and confirmed as stable passages through space-time in the real universe. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? A, 1 only, B, 2 only, C, both 1 and 2, or D, neither 1 nor 2. Please attempt this question. We're talking about wormholes. Okay, wormholes. So what are wormholes? Now it's a very interesting concept that we have in space. It's a shortcut. It is a shortcut that connects 2 distant points. Okay, so imagine that you have this big sheet of paper and there are 2 points on the opposite sides of the sheet. One A and the other point B. Now if you have to move from point A to point B, you will ideally have to travel through the paper, completely through the paper, end to end. But imagine if you just get a hole, a tunnel in between, that you can just travel from A to B just like that, through a tunnel. You don't have to cross the entire sheet of paper. You just have a tunnel that's there that will take you from point A to point B in space-time. So it's going to save a lot of time for us. That tunnel is our wormhole. That tunnel that we have is our wormhole. Now the challenge over here is that they have not been observed in real time. Like there is no data that we have. These are theoretical things that exist in theory, but we do not have any data to confirm that these exist as stable passages anywhere, or they can be used, because they are very unstable in nature. And in order to make them stable, in order for this theory to exist, we need certain things that are called exotic matter. Exotic matter, which can actually keep the wormhole stable enough for that passage to exist. But right now we do not have any such astronomical data that confirms the existence of wormholes. They exist to prove the theory, general theory of relativity. So this statement number 1 is correct, and statement number 2 is incorrect. They have not been observed in astronomical data and confirmed as stable passages through space-time in the real universe. So the correct answer is option A. Okay, so there are theoretical structures in space-time that appear as solutions to Einstein's general theory of relativity. So space-time can be curved by massive objects, and under certain mathematical solutions, this curvature could form a tunnel or bridge connecting 2 distant points in space-time. That bridge or that tunnel is our wormhole. Now, if such a tunnel existed, it would be shorter than the normal distance between the 2 points in space or time, and it will act as a shortcut. So these constructs are often depicted as tunnels with 2 ends linking separate regions of space-time. So statement 1 is correct, and they are legitimate solutions to the equations of general relativity, but we do not have any experimental evidence confirming their existence. That's why the second statement is incorrect. And in order for them to be stable, to be transversible, we need we need some kind of matter that will be called exotic matter. All right. Okay, moving on to the next question. Consider the following statements about rocket engines. 1. Cryogenic engines achieve higher efficiency due to greater specific impulse but generally produce lower thrust than semi-cryogenic engines. 2. Semi-cryogenic engines require storage of both fuel and oxidizer at ultra-low temperatures, making their handling more complex than cryogenic engines. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? A. 1 only, B. 2 only, C. both 1 and 2, or D. neither 1 nor 2. Please attempt this question. So here we are talking about engines, cryogenic engines and semi-cryogenic engines. Okay. So when we talk of cryogenic engines and semi-cryogenic engines, there's a fuel and there's an oxidizer. So in cryogenic engines, we have a liquid fuel plus liquid oxidizer, like liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. Now, when we talk about the specific impulse, it says cryogenic engines achieve higher efficiency due to greater specific impulse. Now, cryogenic engines have greater efficiency like greater fuel efficiency. They utilize fuel more effectively. So they have a greater impulse, meaning that the fuel, the same amount of fuel can keep burning for long. For example, let's say you have two engines and 1 liter of fuel. Engine A can burn the same fuel for 10 seconds and engine B can burn the same fuel for 20 seconds. So the one that is burning it for 20 seconds will have more efficiency. It is more efficient. That engine is more efficient because it is utilizing the same fuel and it is burning it for a longer duration. So that is what cryogenic engines do. They have a higher efficiency. They have a greater specific impulse, but they have a lower thrust in comparison to semi-cryogenic engines. Lower thrust is the push that they get. So thrust is the push that they get. So that push is smaller or lower in comparison to semi-cryogenic engines. But all in all, they are more effective. They have a greater fuel efficiency and a greater specific impulse when compared with semi-cryogenic engines. And when we talk of semi-cryogenic engines, so they have an oxidizer and a fuel. Same thing. But in the cryogenic engines, we had the fuel as liquid hydrogen. The fuel was liquid hydrogen and oxidizer was liquid oxygen. But in semi-cryogenic, we are going to have refined kerosene as the fuel and liquid oxygen as the oxidizer. But the second statement over here said that semi-cryogenic engines require storage of both fuel and oxidizer at ultra low temperatures. So no, this is not true. When we talk about cryogenic engines, yes, they require the storage at ultra low temperatures for both the fuel and oxidizer. Like if you see here, the fuel temperature, liquid hydrogen also minus 253 degrees Celsius and liquid oxygen also at minus 183 degrees Celsius. But when we talk of semi-cryogenic engines, in that case, liquid oxygen, yes, at minus 183 degrees Celsius, but kerosene will be stored at the ambient temperature. It will not be stored at a very low temperature, at the ambient temperature, at the temperature around. So that's why both fuel and oxidizer do not need to be stored at an ultra low temperature when we talk about semi-cryogenic engines. That is why this statement is incorrect. So their handling is not more complex, it is in fact simpler in comparison to cryogenic engines. So statement number 1 is correct, 2 is incorrect. Okay, moving on to the question number 6. Consider the following statements. 1. Antimicrobial resistance can occur in bacteria, viruses, fungi and parasites. 2. Pathogenic strains that are resistant to most antimicrobial drugs are commonly referred to as superbugs. 3. Antimicrobial resistance is purely a man-made phenomenon and does not occur naturally in pathogens. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? A. 1 and 2 only, B. 2 and 3 only, C. 1 and 3 only, or D. 1, 2 and 3. Please attempt this question. Done? So here we are talking about antimicrobial resistance. Antimicrobial resistance, and yes, it occurs in many pathogens. It is not simply restricted to bacteria. It is not restricted to bacteria. It can occur in other pathogens also, like viruses, fungi and parasites. So it can occur in many pathogens: viruses, fungi, parasites and bacteria. Antimicrobial resistance, meaning when these pathogens actually resist the effect of drugs that are given to kill these pathogens. When these pathogens start resisting their effect and the drugs become ineffective on these pathogens, that is when we say that these pathogens have developed antimicrobial resistance. All right. Pathogenic strains that are resistant to most antimicrobial drugs are commonly referred to as superbugs. Yes. So the pathogens that become resistant to multiple antimicrobial drugs, they are called superbugs. And antimicrobial resistance is purely a man-made phenomenon and does not occur naturally in pathogens. No. It actually occurs naturally in pathogens because pathogens also mutate, right? Over a period of time, the pathogens are going to mutate, and the same drug that was supposed to kill that pathogen earlier will not be able to kill the same pathogen again because the pathogen has mutated naturally. But what happens? Humans also expedite this process. How? Let's say when you overuse antibiotics, when it is not required, even then without a prescription, you are simply consuming antibiotics, or you are not completing the course of antibiotics. It was for 5 days and you did it only for 2 days, and you felt better and you did not continue taking the medicine for third day onwards. So this also expedites the process wherein this antimicrobial resistance starts developing in that pathogen. So humans or man-made processes definitely make it faster, but naturally also it occurs in the pathogens. So this statement is incorrect. So our correct answer would be 1 and 2 only. All right. So WHO defines AMR as a phenomenon affecting multiple classes of pathogens, not bacteria alone. Examples include MDR TB. It's a very common example, that the tuberculosis, when multiple drugs start becoming ineffective in curing that TB, we say there is multi-drug resistant tuberculosis and drug resistant E. coli. All right. The WHO also highlights that growing threat from gram-negative superbugs. Gram-negative is a type of bacteria and they are actually superbugs, and their threat is increasing. So it will naturally get very difficult to treat gram-negative superbugs. So because such cases are increasing, cases of antimicrobial resistance are actually increasing. All right, moving on to the next question. This you can see in the PDF itself. With reference to Bluetongue virus, consider the following statements. 1. It is an infectious, non-contagious disease transmitted primarily through insect vectors. 2. It primarily affects sheep, cattle and other ruminants. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? A. 1 only, B. 2 only, C. both 1 and 2, or D. neither 1 nor 2. So please attempt this question. Okay, so we are talking about Bluetongue virus. Bluetongue virus. The Bluetongue disease cases were actually increasing a lot in Northern Ireland in the last couple of months. That's why this was in news. And when we talk about this virus, so this virus is infectious and non-contagious. So this disease, Bluetongue disease that we're talking about, it is infectious, meaning it is mostly carried by the vector over in this case is an insect. Midge, we call that midges. So when this midge or this fly, this insect is actually going to suck the blood of an infected animal, and from that, when it is going to bite another healthy animal, it is actually going to transfer this virus, Bluetongue virus, from that infected animal to the healthy animal. So yes, it is infectious, but it is not contagious, meaning that it will not be spread just by touch. By touching, it is not going to spread. It is not contagious, but it is infectious, and it is transmitted primarily through insect vectors. Yes, this statement is correct. Now please note that this disease does not transfer to humans. It does not transfer to humans, and it primarily affects sheep. Yes, it affects sheep. In fact, it affects sheep the most. Then it also affects cattle, it affects goats also, but it affects sheep the most. And when we talk of the word blue tongue, so not literal, it's not used in a literal meaning at all times, but in severe cases, because the blood vessels are also damaged in severe cases, so the tongue even starts appearing to be bluish in color. So that is also one of the reasons that it is called blue tongue, but that happens in severe cases. But for us, we need to remember that this is a viral disease. It is infectious, it is non-contagious, it affects sheep the most, and it is not transmitted to humans. So the correct answer is C. So it's infectious, non-contagious, and it mainly spreads through culicoids midges. That's the name of the vector, culicoids midges. It affects sheep, cattle, and other ruminants. Sheep are most likely to show symptoms, and cattle mostly asymptomatic, and sheep is the most severely affected. It shows a lot of symptoms. Okay, moving on to the next question. With reference to GLO-Cas9 protein recently mentioned in news, consider the following statements. 1. GLO-Cas9 is a bioluminescent version of the CRISPR-Cas9 protein that emits light while performing gene editing inside cells. 2. GLO-Cas9 eliminates the need for any DNA repair mechanism during gene editing by CRISPR-Cas9. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? A. 1 only, B. 2 only, C. both 1 and 2, or D. neither 1 nor 2. Please attempt this question. Okay, so here we are talking about the GLO-Cas9 protein, which is actually a version of CRISPR-Cas9 only, but as the name suggests, GLO-Cas9, it is a bioluminescent version. So what happens, this CRISPR-Cas9, it's like a molecular scissor. It's a gene editing tool. It is going to cut the DNA at whichever place we like. Now when that cutting is happening and we are using the GLO-Cas9 version, that will start emitting light. So the scientists will actually be able to see exactly what is happening inside, because light is going to be emitted. It will glow. So while the gene is being edited and the DNA is being cut, it will glow, and the scientists will be able to observe this real time. So that's why it is a bioluminescent version of CRISPR-Cas9 protein that emits light while performing gene editing inside cells. Yes, this statement is correct. However, GLO-Cas9 does not eliminate the need for any DNA repair mechanism, because what's going to happen? You're cutting the DNA. Now the cells are going to repair themselves over a period of time. That repair is going to happen naturally. So this is not going to do away with the repair mechanism of DNA. The DNA will be repaired. It is simply going to cut the DNA wherever required, and that process will be visible because light will be emitted while all this is happening. So it eliminates the need for any DNA repair mechanism during gene editing by CRISPR-Cas9? No. This statement is incorrect. So the correct statement is option A, 1 only. So GLO-Cas9 is a bioluminescent version of CRISPR-Cas9 protein developed by scientists at Kolkata's Bose Institute. It is designed to emit light while performing gene editing inside cells, enabling real-time monitoring of CRISPR operations. All right? And it's created by fusing the Cas9 protein with a split nano luciferase enzyme derived from deep sea shrimp proteins. So when Cas9 folds properly, the split enzyme pieces reconnect, producing a visible glow. It's actually it's a combination of Cas9 protein plus a split nano luciferase enzyme. Okay, and that's how it emits light. However, it does not eliminate the need for DNA repair mechanisms. Instead, it aids processes like homology-directed repair, a DNA repair pathway essential for correcting the hereditary mutations linked to genetic disorders like sickle cell anemia. So it does not eliminate any need for DNA repair. DNA repair is going to happen. It only emits light because it's a combination of Cas9 protein plus split nanoluciferase enzyme. Moving on to the next question. Consider the following statements. Statement 1. Solar flares are sudden and powerful bursts of energy that occur in regions of strong magnetic fields near sunspots. 2. Sunspots look dark on the sun's surface because weak magnetic fields reduce the flow of heat from the sun's interior to the surface. Which of the following is correct in respect to the above statements? A. Both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct and statement 2 explains statement 1. B. Both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct but statement 2 does not explain statement 1. C. Statement 1 is not correct but statement 2 is correct. D. Statement 1 is correct but statement 2 is not correct. Please attempt this question. So we are talking about solar flares and sunspots. Done? So the first statement says solar flares are sudden and powerful bursts of energy. Yes. Solar flares are actually a burst of energy. It's like a very strong explosion that happens and it emits a lot of radio waves. Radioactive energy is emitted. So it's a sudden burst of energy where the region of strong magnetic field is present near sunspots. So a strong magnetic field is present near sunspots, and along that region when a strong explosion happens, sudden explosion happens, a burst of energy takes place, and that is known as solar flare. Now when we talk of sunspots, so sunspots are actually darker areas. They appear as spots on the surface of the sun because they are darker, and because they are dark because they are cooler. Usually everything on the sun's surface is very hot. Now these sunspots are cooler areas, cooler regions, and they are cool because of the presence of strong magnetic field. We just saw strong magnetic fields near sunspots. It is not because of the presence of weak magnetic fields, it is because of the presence of strong magnetic fields. And these strong magnetic fields, they kind of act as a block, as a barrier that does not allow heat from within the earth to escape and reach the surface of the earth. So at some places on the surface of the earth, a very strong magnetic field is present which is going to block the energy from reaching to the surface of the earth. So that region is going to be relatively cooler in comparison to the other areas, and that's why they're going to appear as spots and they will be known as sunspots. So statement 1 is incorrect. Statement 1 is correct. Statement 2 is incorrect. So statement 1 is correct and statement 2 is not correct. Okay. You can read this explanation. Moving on to the last question for the day. Consider the following statements. 1. India has recently conducted its first successful test of an Agni 4 missile equipped with multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicle technology. 2. MIRV technology allows a single missile to carry multiple warheads, each capable of striking different targets simultaneously. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? A. 1 only, B. 2 only, C. both 1 and 2, or D. neither 1 nor 2. Please attempt this question. Done. So we are talking about a recent test that we did. So India successfully conducted its first test of an Agni 4 missile. No, it was the Agni 5 missile. And this was important because here we tested our MIRV technology. This Agni 5 missile was linked with the MIRV technology, and with this India has joined the league of very few nations who have this MIRV technology. Now what is this technology? So this is multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicle. So when we talk of this missile system, it actually has multiple nuclear warheads. Okay, instead of having just a single nuclear warhead, it will have multiple nuclear warheads, and those warheads can function independently of each other, which means they can hit multiple targets either simultaneously or at different times. So they are multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles. So instead of having only one nuclear warhead, we will have multiple nuclear warheads, and those nuclear warheads can hit different targets simultaneously. That is why it is very, very important. This technology is very, very important. And now we have it. We have tested it in Agni 5 missile. And because we have this, it is going to increase our deterrence capability, our second strike capability, because India has a no first use policy when it comes to our nuclear doctrine. So the statement number 1 will be incorrect, and statement number 2, MIRV technology allows a single missile to carry multiple warheads, each capable of striking different targets simultaneously. Yes. So 1 is incorrect and 2 is correct. Correct answer is option B. Okay, India successfully tested Agni 5 missile under the mission Divyastra. The name of this mission is also important, Mission Divyastra. It marked its entry into a select group of countries possessing MIRV technology. So very few countries like US has it, like 2 or 3 more other countries have it, but only few countries have it. France has it. So MIRV technology allows a single missile to carry multiple nuclear warheads, each of which can be independently guided to strike the same or different targets simultaneously, significantly enhancing the strike efficiency, deterrence capability, and second strike capability. And this represents a major upgrade over traditional missiles that carry only a single warhead, right? And we have India's no first use nuclear doctrine, so we are strengthening our second strike capability over here. And it's not a recent innovation, it was actually developed in the 1960s and first deployed by the US in 1970s, followed by the Soviet Union, China, UK and France. So US has it, Soviet Union has it, China, UK, France, and now we also have it. So that was all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed the discussion. Now we will look at a practice question for prelims. You can get this PDF on our Telegram channel. Link will be provided. So tokamak is used in the field of A. Safe disposal of radioactive nuclear waste. B. Generation of electricity using nuclear fission reactors. C. Harnessing nuclear fusion through magnetic confinement of plasma. D. Development of particle accelerators for medical applications. Please attempt this question and provide your answers in the comment section. Thank you for watching.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.